Visit the graves of whom you some time. Allow yourself to be amazed of how many generations grow a better. Return to where you left tracks. Be astonished to find this place of healing.
So this is the poetry.
Scrape the soft rind once, and the whole room fills with fruit. Look around. You have more than enough. Always have. You just didn't notice it until now. That's my Schmidt. Hopeful poem. To love life, to love it, even when you have no stomach for it, and everything you held dear crumbles like burnt paper in your hands, your throat filled with the silt of it. When grief sits with you, its tropical heat thickening the air, heavy as water, more fit for gills and lungs. When grief weighs you down like your own flesh, only more of it, an obesity of grief. You think, how can a body withstand this? Then you hold life like a face between your palms, a plain face, no charming smile, no violent eyes, and you say, yes, I will take you. I will love you again. This one, it's so powerful to read something from Wendell Berry because I think he talks a lot about land stewardship. The land stewardship is something that we should all consider when we think about the environment. Like, who owns that land? All of us do. And Wendell Berry's work talks very beautifully about it. So, the Peace of Wild Things. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars, waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world, and am free. So I actually use this poem to teach more often, and I really would love not to search you all homework. I am not doing that, I promise. But I find that, like, if you write something like this for yourself, and I love calling it a list poem, but what it really is, like, is a reason to stay alive through difficult things. And you put it in a place where you can see it. It gives you the inspiration to keep moving through your day. I tend to have this poem on my fridge. My partner has his own version of it. He's not a poet. He works in tech. I think my poetry is the only work he reads under duress. So it's a poem called Reasons to Live Through the Apocalypse. Sunrises. People you have still to meet and laugh with. Songs about love, peace, anger, and revolution. Walks in the woods. The smile you exchange with a stranger when you experience beauty accidentally together. Butterflies. Seeing your parents again, seeing your children again, seeing your sister again, seeing your friends again. The moon in all her forms, whether half or full. Dogs, cats, birthdays and half birthdays, the feeling of floating in love. Watching birds eat from bird feeders. The waves of happiness that follow the end of sadness. Brown eyes. Watching a boat cross an empty sea. Sunsets, dipping your feet in the river. Balconies, take the wind in your face when you roll the car window down on an open highway. Falling asleep to the sound of a steady heartbeat. Warm cups of tea on cold days. Hugs, night skies, art museums, books filled with everything you do not know yet, long conversations, long lost friends, poetry. So, this poem, I don't know what it is about this poem, but every time like I posted it on Twitter, thousands of people love this poem, and they share this poem, and they always bring in their own story of heartbreak into this poem. And I think it's the last few lines of this poem that really make people so moved to like share it, talk about it, like tell their most honest truths. It's a poem called "The Day of Our Divorce Hearing" by Ruth Lepson. Has anyone ever read it? Yes, it's beautiful. So the day of our divorce hearing, you treated me to lunch, a spaghetti place. We have never been so kind to each other. When you said, "I'm still a slob," we laughed. After lunch, we stood in the parking lot. You said, "You have the last word." But I said, "No, I'm tired of being the one who sums things up. You get the last word." But you couldn't think of one. So off you went to our silver car, I to our red one. It's 3 years later, and even that's just a story now. Lately, I don't feel as if I lived with you. But I remember our kindness that day, when it no longer mattered. Can I read you guys something which it's a really funny one. The reaction to this poem is either delight or terror. Like there is no like middle ground to it, and I love that. Like poetry that can inspire hope is really rare, but it really reveals something to you about the person that you are. It's a poem by Barbara Kingsolver, so I'm not really surprised that it evokes both because the writing does that. It's one of the few poems that I've got of hers that like I'm just like, wow, how does this do both? So it's called "How to Do Absolutely Nothing." Rent a house near the beach or a cabin, but do not take your walking shoes. Don't take any clothes you wear any place anyone can see. Don't take your rechargeables. Take Scrabble if you have to, but not a dictionary and no pencils for keeping score. Don't take a cookbook or anything to cook. A fishing pole, okay, but not the line, hook, sinker. Leave it all. Find out what's left. You can tell I'm the person that gets really scared when I read that, because I'm like, what do you mean? No books, nothing. What do I do with myself? That's the question though, isn't it? What do you do with yourself if you're asked to leave everything behind? For my final poem, I'm actually going to read another poem. I think it was actually written by Maya C. Papa, and I think she was sort of inspired by Ellen Bass's work. Ellen Bass is an amazing poet. I read The Thing Is by her. But I love this poem because I think it really talks about how you can grow beautiful things. She wrote it in October, well, it was published in October 2020, but she wrote it at the start of the pandemic. Dear life, I can't undo all I have done unto myself. What I have, let an appetite for love do to me. I have wanted all the world, its beauties and its injuries. Some days I think that is punishment enough. Often, I receive more than I asked, which is how this works. You fish in open water, ready to be wounded on what you read. Throwing it back was a nightmare. Throwing it back and seeing my own face as it disappeared into the dark water. Catching my tongue suddenly on metal. Spitting the hook into an open palm. Dear life, I feel that hook today most keenly. Would you loosen the line? You listen if I ask you. You are the sort of life I think you are. And it's a poem I wrote for my nieces, my little sisters, like every woman who I know who's younger than me, and I get more and more protective about them every day. Hymn for the girls who come after us. May you get home safely after nights full of wine and friends and full-belly laughs. And when you look up at the glow of the moon, when your life is more weed than flower, may you know she looks out for you. May every song on the radio remind you that love is here. It is here and it is for you. May you never have to worry for your little sisters. May they never have to make a blade of themselves to survive. May successes kiss the heels of your feet as you fly to greater heights than they said you could ever reach. May the beat, beat, beat of this world be one of safety, so you do not need to follow each other home. And may the good times be loud and long, and your sorrows only fleeting. Thank you very much for listening to me today.